Imagine getting fired because you believed in facts. Welcome to the Trump world, where the truth is the enemy and propaganda is the gospel. That's what just happened at the CDC. So the head of the CDC was pushed out, but not because she wasn't loyal enough, not even because she wasn't working hard enough, but because she said, I'm not going to ignore science and facts. And you know what they told her? Bye, girl. Because see, in that Trump camp, in that conservative world, facts are the devil. Truth is the devil. Science is the devil. The only thing they worship is propaganda. And propaganda, honey, that stuff spreads faster than a rumor on Sunday in church. And I keep telling y'all, propaganda ain't free. There is a price. Every time you just shrug and say that's just politics, they put another piece of propaganda on the American credit card. And the bill is coming due, y'all. So now we have to ask ourselves as a country, are we ready to pay the price? Because whether you want to or not, they're already collecting. Your health care, taken. Your freedoms, taken. Your trust in government, oh, that's already in repossession. This is what happens when government cares more about spinning the story than actually solving the problem. And when the propaganda, the story becomes much more important than the problem, people like you and me, we always lose. So the next time you see propaganda floating around like it's harmless, remember that it costs, and America is paying in real time.
The CDC is in crisis right now, and here's 3 reasons why. 1, the White House fired the CDC director, but she refuses to leave, and she's accused RFK Jr. of weaponizing public health. So Dr. Susan Monarez, an infectious disease researcher, was sworn in about a month ago to lead the CDC, but reportedly she crashed with RFK Jr. over vaccine policy. On Monday, RFK Jr. and his aides asked Monarez if she was aligned with the administration's plans to change vaccine policy and asked her to resign. But when she said no, they pushed her to fire her senior staff by the end of the week. Monarez refused and then reached out to Senator Bill Cassidy, who believed he got RFK Jr. to agree on protecting vaccines in exchange for his support to confirm RFK in the Senate as head of HHS. Cassidy called RFK, who then called Monarez into his office and accused her of being a leaker and told her you either resign or be fired. Then on Wednesday, HHS said on X that Monarez no longer was CDC chief. Monarez is fighting this. Her lawyer said that she hasn't resigned or gotten notice from the White House about being fired, and then accused RFK of weaponizing public health for political gain. But that evening, a Trump spokesman said the White House did fire Monarez, but her lawyer said that because she was confirmed by the Senate, she serves the president and only Trump can fire her. Stay tuned. All this could lead to a CDC director who's even more opposed to vaccine. 2, 4 high-ranking CDC officials quit over frustrations on vaccine policy and RFK's leadership. These include the agency's chief medical officer and those who oversaw vaccine recs, vaccine safety, and the Office of Public Health Data. Very important parts of the agency that are influential for American health. Dr. Demetre Daskalakis, who ran a vaccine rec center, wrote that he will not work in an environment that treats CDC as a tool to generate policies and materials that don't reflect scientific reality and are designed to hurt rather than improve public health. And 3, the CDC quietly pared back a program between the federal government and 10 states that tracked foodborne illnesses. As of July 1st, CDC backed off an important surveillance program that will now only monitor 2 pathogens, Salmonella and a type of E. coli bacteria, instead of the usual 8. This is what the CDC is skipping. And while states can still monitor these on their own, experts say it could be harder for public health officials to know how common certain foodborne illnesses are or whether those cases are on the uptick. It's been tough for the CDC, especially after a deadly shooting at the CDC appeared to have been fueled by vaccine misinformation, with restrictions on vaccine guidance and RFK Jr. potentially previewing that he could pin the blame of autism on vaccines next month, which that link has been debunked and discredited for over 20 years. All these changes at the CDC could further destabilize the public health system and have effects on life-changing healthcare options and recommendations for millions.
My name's Dylan Blaha, and I'm a U.S. Army veteran and former university cancer research scientist. This morning, the White House ousted the CDC director less than a month after she was sworn in. She immediately challenged the dismissal, citing unscientific directives from RFK Jr. Then 4 senior CDC officials resigned over vaccine policy changes, misinformation, and public health weaponization. Science and education in America are under attack, but this is nothing new. We've seen this in countries like Hungary and Turkey during the rise of their own far-right movements. These countries curtailed academic freedom and suppressed critical thinking, and they manipulated scientific findings to fit their own political agenda. Sound familiar? RFK Jr. made sweeping vaccine policy changes in May and fired all the CDC vaccine experts in June. This is not about making America healthy again. This is a continued assault on science and education in America, and it will set us back years. Misinformation costs lives. We've seen the highest number of measles cases in the US in 30 years. We also saw it during the recent violent attack at the CDC. We must immediately reverse all cuts to scientific advancement in America. We must also continue to invest in life-saving medical advancements and environmental technologies. Then, we can actually work on making Americans and our planet healthy.
Well, it started with, it looks like the resignation of some key figures at the CDC. There was initial reporting that the CDC Director, Susan Monarez, who just was, I think, approved by the Senate a few weeks ago, a month ago, something like that.
Yeah, about a month.
That she had resigned, and then her lawyer put out a statement saying she has neither resigned nor has she been fired. So that was happening on one side, and then 4 key officials with the CDC all resigned. Jennifer Layden, who previously the director of the agency's Office of Public Health Data Surveillance and Technology. That seems pretty important. She's gone. Daniel Jernigan ran the Center for Emerging Zoonotic Infectious Diseases. That basically diseases that can go from animals to humans. Maybe COVID-19, maybe monkeypox, right? These are real things out there that have happened and need to be monitored. This guy's gone. Debra Houry, the chief medical officer of the CDC. Big job at the CDC. She resigned. And so, it's not hyperbole to say, and I don't have the flowchart of the CDC in front of me, and it would be a big flowchart, but a lot of big name people at the CDC are gone.
President Trump's CDC director is warning that Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is, quote, weaponizing public health for political gain, putting millions of American lives at risk. Mainers, I'm sorry, I need to warn you about some deeply alarming news from the Centers for Disease Control that happened on Wednesday and into Wednesday night. Apparently yesterday, Kennedy wanted the CDC director, who was nominated by President Trump, to fire the CDC's top leaders and sign off on severe rollbacks to COVID vaccine recommendations that were rooted in Kennedy's personal beliefs rather than, actual science. The CDC director, Susan Monarez, refused. Kennedy and his team then demanded that Monarez resign. Again, she refused, so they announced that she was fired. But the HHS secretary can't legally fire her. So on Wednesday night, the White House said that the president had fired her. Meanwhile, those top CDC officials, its chief medical officer, the director of immunization and respiratory diseases, the director of infectious diseases, the director of public health data surveillance and technology, they've all resigned in protest of Kennedy's anti-vaccine actions. All of them are gone today because they would not go along with actions that put American lives at risk. The situation has been building for months, but it finally boiled over yesterday. Maine Senator Susan Collins voted to confirm Kennedy, despite every indication that these were the choices he would make if confirmed. And after Kennedy purged the independent commission of scientists that makes vaccine recommendations for Americans, Senator Collins still told a reporter that she did not regret her vote. The story's still very much playing out, and I'll follow up with a story about how Kennedy's changes to COVID vaccine recommendations made without the CDC will affect Mainers.
We are learning the newly installed director of the CDC is leaving the agency, according to the health department, who posted on X, Susan Monarez is no longer director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. We thank her for her dedicated service to the American people. She has only led the agency for about a month. And remember, the agency is going through a lot of changes that we have been telling you about here under Health Secretary RFK Jr.
President Trump has just fired CDC Director Susan Monarez. She just got fired August 28, 2025, today. She has been in this role for less than a month after being confirmed by the Senate July 29th. The administration fired her for refusing to align the administration for the COVID-19 vaccine policy charges orchestrated by Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. These directives included certain approvals and orders, staff changes requested by Susan, and she denied them. So that's why Donald Trump said, bye-bye. Have a nice day. Again, people, Donald Trump's doing this for the American people and the United States, and he wants the right people in the right positions. You guys could think about that another way, but that's on you. But anywho, if you guys love this news, please smash the heart, leave a comment, drop a follow, FYP, share and repost. Trump is the greatest president ever. People, you have to face facts. The left just can't get it done. There's a lot of things going our way and many more to come. And it's not even a full year yet he's been in office, and a lot of things have changed for the good. Stay blessed. More news coming soon.
Are we gonna act like the former director of the CDC didn't want Americans to have less choices over their own health decisions? Why are we surprised she got fired? Could you believe certain schools required students to have a COVID-19 vaccination just to attend in-person classes? That doesn't make sense to me. Donald Trump and Robert F. Kennedy are focused on giving Americans choices. You don't have to do some shit you don't want to. This administration isn't just yapping about fixing the problem. Donald Trump signed an executive order cutting the federal funding for those schools on that bullshit. They're not just ditching old policies and not bringing anything new to the table. This administration is exploring safer and broader vaccine platforms. To make sure we're on the same page, Donald Trump wants Americans to choose whether they get a vaccine or not. The former director of the CDC disagrees, and we're defending her? Y'all don't want no options? Please let me know in the comments why she should keep her job. The proof is in the pudding. Once again, Donald Trump proves he's a president for the American people. Keep it up, Donald Trump. No matter what you do, the left is gonna cry about it. Have your tear ducts not dried up? It's been 7 months into this presidency and I haven't heard one message from the left other than Trump is bad. Can one of y'all lefties get in the lab and start cooking, please? The story's getting a little boring. I'm not even a Republican. I'm simply an American with eyes, and I can see y'all niggas on some bullshit. Ow!
So far, 14 Democrat senators have spoken out against RFK Jr. for firing his CDC director. Senator Andy Kim said, "We are talking about Americans' health and safety. Nothing is more important." And yet, Trump and RFK Jr. appear to have fired the CDC director. In response to the news, Senator Mark Warner said, "Make no mistake, RFK Jr. and Trump's endless attacks on the CDC, public health experts, and established science threaten lives and undermine our global research leadership." Senator Warnock said that President Trump and Secretary Kennedy are trying to purge anyone who stands up against their anti-science agenda at the CDC. They all are a part of the same party and have all been paid off by the healthcare industry, but they have something else in common. Every single one of those senators voted no to confirm Susan Monarez, meaning they did not want her to be CDC director. You would think that they would be thanking RFK Jr. for firing her. This is just a classic case of party politics. However, the other side does, we need to do the opposite, even if it exposes our own hypocrisy. But as always, let me know your thoughts about this and make sure you're following me for more.
In case you missed it, this administration just fired the director of the CDC, and in solidarity, multiple other leaders in the CDC have resigned. I'm just going to read you a few of the quotes from the resignation letters. "For the good of the nation and the world, the science at CDC should never be censored or subject to political pauses and interpretations. While it is important to question and analyze research, this must be done by experts with the right skills and experience, without bias, and considering the full weight of scientific evidence." Here's another one. "I am not able to serve in this role any longer because of the ongoing weaponizing of public health. Please take care of yourself and your teams and make the right decisions for yourselves." This is a quote from an emergency medicine doctor and professor at Brown University. "What's happening at the CDC should frighten every American, regardless of whether you are MAGA, MAHA, neither, or don't give a damn about labels or politics. Incredible career professionals resigned tonight, sounding a massive alarm. This is pure chaos that leaves the country unprepared." Perhaps the most chilling of all of the quotes that I read is from an anonymous insider inside the CDC who CNN reports, is not allowed to speak to the news media and did not want to be identified for fear of retribution. They say, "Our agency is crumbling. The bullet holes aren't even repaired on our buildings." And that line alone made me realize that so much has happened in the last few weeks that I had already forgotten that there was a shooting at the CDC. The strategy of flood the zone is certainly working, because now this news story, which should be plenty enough to find a way to get this administration out of here, is just another article, another news story until the next one. This is so dangerous, and it's going to haunt this country for years to come.
Hey y'all, it's me all in good fun on August 28th, and I'm a little bit disgusted today because I'm quite frankly worried about science and medicine being eliminated out of the United States. I'm worried about what happens if I get really sick. Because today yesterday, they fired the head of the CDC, Susan Monarez, and they fired her because she refused to, in her words, follow the unscientific, reckless directives of the ex-heroin addict, RFK Jr., the one who heads up healthcare in the United States. She refused to abide by their desire to fire health experts. She wanted to put the public first, put the people first. And, well, she was told that her thinking did not align with the current administration. So let's just put that together. Current administration doesn't believe in science or medicine or caring about the public, period. Full stop. So I started thinking, I better take care of my health. And I'd heard that COVID was really surging in my state, one of the worst in the nation. And I decided I better go get my vaccine. So I logged into my local drugstore where I always get my vaccines to make a COVID vaccine appointment. Here's what I saw. This right here. See that? See that where it says COVID not currently available? Well, then fortunately, a friend of mine told me about a different drugstore where I could get myself a shot, and I made an appointment for a couple weeks from now. That's a couple weeks that I can stay getting exposed. But anyway, so here's the thing. We have a current administration that doesn't want people to get vaccines. If you are under 65, I happen to be older, once in a blue moon. It has its advantages. And so I'm entitled to get the vaccine. But if you're younger than that, you have any respiratory issues, any problems, you have to get a permission slip from your doctor. Your doctor has to place a special order for you to get your vaccine. Imagine how that's going to clog up the system, everybody trying to get orders from their doctor. Either that or don't get a vaccine and risk getting COVID. And that's all I have to say. Take your vitamins, stay hydrated, and, wear a mask if you need to, if you're in a big crowd. I'm all in good fun. And do me a favor, folks. Click on all those buttons over there. I would really appreciate it. I'm kind of getting shadow banned because of my political leanings. So I'd appreciate if you just keep engaging with my videos. Take care.
Breaking news. The director of the CDC has just been fired by the White House after a scuffle with RFK Jr. The director of the CDC, her name is Susan Monarez. Her lawyer is saying she's refusing to step down, but she has been fired. The CDC. A guy without a medical degree. A medical degree is your basic need. Your 10 years at college. That's what you need to become a doctor. To become, the head of the Center for Disease Control for the United States of America. So she can be fired on the say-so of a guy who thinks you shouldn't vaccinate your child, even though he vaccinates his own children.